Hey students, me. Got something special for you. First of all, we're going to do the origin insertion action game. So take a look at this one here. What do you figure is the origin there on that one? That would be the clavicle. What's your guess on the insertion? That would be the deltoid tuberosity of the humerus. How about the action? That would be prime mover of arm abduction. Good job. All right, next one. Okay. How about that one? What would you guess the origin would be on that one? That would be clavicle sternum. What would be the insertion on this one? That would be the intertubercular sulcus of humerus. What would be the action of it? That would be the prime mover of arm flexing. All right, ready for the next one? Here we go. So, on this one, what would be the origin? Well, look at that. That would be the ribs. What would be the insertion? Coracoid process of scapula. What would be the action? It draws the scapula forward. Okay, let's move on. And if something isn't here, then it's not on your test. Oh my, this is a pretty one. What is the origin of that one? That would be the fascia of the chest. What would be in the insertion on this one? That would be the mandible. What would be the action? It tenses the skin of the neck. All right, let's go on. So, what would be the origin of this one? Why, that would be the manubrium of the sternum and the clavicle. What would be the insertion on this one? Well, that would be the mastoid process. What would be the action? It flexes the neck forward. Great. Let's move on. Ooh, look at this one closely. What would be the origin of that one? Why, that would be the manubrium of the sternum. What would be the insertion? Why, that would be the hyoid. What was the action of this? It elevates and retracts the hyoid bone. Great job. All right, let's go on to another one. Ooh, look at that. What would be the origin of this one? Why, that would be the ribs. What would be the insertion? That would be the scapula. And what is this action? It holds the scapula against the chest wall. Great. So let's go on. What would be the origin of this one? That would be the thyroid cartilage. What would be the insertion of this one? Hyoid bone. What would be the action? It depresses the hyoid. All right, let's go on. What would be the origin of this one? It would be the sternum. What would be the insertion? That would be the thyroid cartilage. And what's its action? Depresses the larynx. All right, so let's go on to another one. Ooh. What is the origin of this one? That would be the scapula. What would be the insertion of this one? That would be the hyoid. What would be the action? Depresses the larynx. Okay. So let's go on to the next. Oh yeah. So, what would be the origin of this one? That would be the pubis. What would be the insertion? Xiphoid process. And what would be the action? It flexes and rotates the vertebrae. Okay, let's go on to another one. What do we have here? What is the origin here? That would be the ribs. What would be the insertion? Iliac crest and the pubis. What would be the action? It compresses the abdominal wall, as well as other stuff like flexing and rotating the vertebrae. But remember, it compresses the abdominal wall. Okay, let's go on to the next one. What would be the origin of this one? Why, that would be the ileum. What would be the insertion? That would be the pubic crest. What would be the action? Flexes and rotates the vertebrae and compresses the abdominal wall. Okay. Onward. What would be the origin of this one? Ileum. What would be the insertion? Pubic crest. And what would be the action? Compresses the abdomen. Okay. What would be the origin of this one? The intertubercular sulcus and the coracoid process. What would be the insertion? radial tuberosity. What would be the action? Flexes, elbow, supinates, forearm. Okay. What would be the origin of this one? Why, that would be the glenoid cavity of the scapula and the humerus. What would be the insertion? Why, that would be the oleochranon process of ulna. And what is the action? Why, that would be forearm extension. So what would be the origin of this one? Humerus. What would be the insertion? Coronoid process of ulna. Would be the action. It would be flexing the forearm. All right, last one. What would be the origin of this one? That would be humerus. What would be the insertion? Why, that would be the styloid process of the radius. And what would be the action? Flexing of forearm. There you go. Good job.